Watauga Arts Council with your host, Sherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.
Hi, I'm Sherry Johnson with Watauga County Arts Council, and one of the things that I have loved the most about working with Blue Ridge Art Space, which is the facility that we operate, is getting to know artists that I hadn't really had opportunities to know before as much. Artists that do things that don't make gallery exhibits, that don't do the traditional type things that we had worked with in the past. One of those things is knitting, and we have been extremely blessed to have with us a master knitter, a nationally known master knitter in our midst, and I would like to introduce you to her. This is Shirley MacNulty. And Shirley lives part of the year here in the mountains, and then you go in the winter, when it's cold, you go down to the beach and live down there.
In Wilmington, North Carolina.
And you and I have known each other for a little while, and I've gradually gotten to know more and more about your resume, and I have to tell you, I can't possibly recite it for you. She's going to have to do that for you. Let's start back with, you've been knitting all of your life since you were a little girl.
Since I was a little girl, and I started off as making doll clothes, and then I graduated to making socks, and I made my father Argyle socks, my first pair, when I was in 7th grade for my father for a Christmas present. Then I just kept knitting socks, and I kept knitting sweaters for myself. When I was in high school, I would make sweaters, and I'd make matching socks in the same color. That was what was popular back in those days, which was early 1950s.
So you started out doing that, and then over the years, you became a designer and all kinds of things. Tell me more about how this all emerged.
Well, I was knitting. I knit for my children when they were young, and then when we moved to Southern Maryland in the late 1970s, I got involved and I opened up a yarn shop. I had yarn and gifts, and they heard about me from a new organization called the Knitting Guild of America, and I was invited to present a resume for them for teaching classes, and I was accepted, and this was 1985, I think it was, in their first conference, and I went to Dallas, Texas, and taught. It was called the International Sampler Afghan. It had 35 squares in it, and I'm sorry, 35 squares, 7 times 5. It was 50 inches wide and 70 inches long.
Wow!
And,
so you taught that.
Each square was a different one, and so of course they couldn't knit the whole square in a weekend seminar, but they started on it, and then it also became a correspondence course that I had several people take.
Neat. And then you taught all over the country.
I taught all over the country, and I was head for the Knitting Guild of America, now called the Knitting Guild Association, a national or international organization out of Ohio. I taught at several of their seminars, and then I also taught, as I say, the correspondence course. I had my yarn shop, and then I got designing for knitting magazines, and I've had, probably 50 or more designs in different knitting magazines.
Wow. We've got a few of those with us. For example, this charming picture is a little doggy with a little, what is it, a little coat-like thing?
Little sweater, and it's not my dog. It was the editor of the magazine's dog, but it's called Muffy's sweater because my dog is Muffy, and it would fit her too.
And then I'm going to pull up several of these. We've got, in this one, these are really cool. Shirley, by the way, is wearing what she's made. Everything she's wearing is something she's made, so even the jewelry. We'll talk about this particular shirt in just a few minutes, but this skirt is similar to what you have here in this design.
Yes. I've done several I think I've designed over, about 15, 18 skirts for magazines and yarn companies. I love knitted skirts.
And then I'm in the wrong place. There. What is this?
That's a coat. That's a coat that I designed for a magazine, and that one I happened to get back, and I gave that one to my daughter-in-law for Christmas a couple years ago.
So did you actually make this one?
I made that. That is my design, and then I got that one. Some magazines will send the things back to me, and that one was sent back, and I gave it to her.
Is this correct? Am I on the right page?
I think that's the only thing in that magazine was that coat.
Okay. And then we've got another one. I don't want to hit the wrong page. Is this the right one?
That Afghan.
That's similar to one she has in our Blue Ridge Art Space gift shop.
I think that one is in.
Is actually there.
I think that is in there. At some point.
So she's got several Afghans. She's got some shawls. She's got some clothing. Let's show you some of this. This is a shawl. It's gorgeous. That you made that is available through our gift shop.
That's in the gift shop.
Yeah, this is in the gift shop. We just brought it out to show it to you.
And the particular design in that is called Marriage Lines Lace.
Marriage lines lace, that is neat. And then this is absolutely adorable. It could be separate, or it could also be a wonderful little set, you know, to have for a cute little.
That's about for a 9 months to a year
Yeah,
size.
And these are so sweet. And so you've done a lot of children's
I've
things.
got several children's things in the shop. And
And-
that is in the gift shop at the
Right.
Blue Ridge Art Space.
And then this is also in the gift shop, and it matches what you have
That's
on.
exactly the same one that I have on.
Okay. And this, by the way, let's talk about this a minute. This is not made out of yarn.
That's made out of fabric strips.
Okay, show us an example of that.
Well, this is what I've knit with is a fabric strip. The company is no longer in existence. I bought these back in the 1980s, and at that time back then, I would also make skirts out of the yard goods to match. But I don't have much of the fabric left anymore. But I still have some of these strips.
Okay, so you actually knit it out. You're
It's
knitting
knit,
with
it's
fabric.
knit with the fabric.
And so the blouse she has on and this blouse, both were made from that same
And
thing.
I've had this one for years and years.
Now you've got one of those in progress here.
This is one here that is knit in the round. That, of course, it is a little bit, lumpy right now, but this is knit from the top down, and when this is finished, this will be for sale in the Blue Ridge Art Space.
And this is another one that's getting ready to start.
Out of the same particular.
Exactly. She's just begun with the circular needles. You can see them plain here. And so these, because something's in the round, you knit it.
When it's in the round, you go round and around, but you can also use a circular needle and like this here and knit straight on it. But when you have a lot of stitches on the needle, it's better to use a circular needle than it is the straight needles, which are a lot shorter.
And they limit how far you can.
That's right.
Yeah.
You cannot knit as wide, but this is going to be a poncho that's going to be for sale in the Blue Ridge Art Space when I get it finished.
That's going to be really cool. There's a picture of it here somewhere, but I don't know exactly where we
Not-
put it. But
Well, it's the same design, yes.
yeah. And then out in front of us is a Afghan that you're making for a daughter-in-law.
That's for that's granddaughter-in-law. That's
yeah.
for my granddaughter-in-law. That's a cable pattern that she picked. That takes a long time to knit each row because it's why I have not got it finished for her yet. She'll get it this Christmas instead of last Christmas.
And you're using the circular needle
I'm using
for
a
that.
long circular needle for that.
Okay.
But knitting straight on it,
Wow.
back
yeah.
and forth.
And so that's a really cool thing. And then we've got here some other really nice. Isn't this nice? This would be great for summertime.
That's
yeah.
right, just a shrug to put over, and that was in
Exactly.
a magazine.
Yeah, and this is absolutely wonderful. And then I really like this. I think this is gorgeous. Look at the sleeves on this. This is so nice. This is a sweater.
That's a lace pattern and a kind of a lace rib, and that was in a knitting magazine too several years ago.
Really neat. And then two of these things. Now, let's talk about this, that you could make one of these because if you take her classes that we are offering, you would learn enough to
That in the
be able to
advanced
do
class
that.
in September, and I have one just like that. That's mine, but I have one like that for sale in the Blue Ridge Art Space. And
Oh, I like those
That's a
colors.
that's a different pattern. This one here is knit sideways. You start at one side and you knit all the way horizontal. You knit all the way across like that instead of up and down.
Okay. Wow. So there's all kinds of tricks to the trade. And
That's
I heard you say a while ago there's only 2 stitches.
And knitting is only the knit and the purl stitch, and everything else is a combination. Like the one sweater there had lace. This has lace, which is yarn overs. And if you make a yarn over a new stitch, then you put 2 stitches together, so you end up with the same amount of stitches.
Wow.
You add a stitch and you decrease a stitch with the next stitch, and that's all this is.
That's cool. Now you have not just designed patterns, and you showed me a while ago something that you had taken a design and you'd grafted out.
That's
and all
right.
that.
I have a friend who, her grandmother had made a Christmas stocking for her and for her husband several years ago, and she wants some more. And I took the stocking and then I charted on a charting program. I charted and made. So I'm going to be knitting her stocking out of this
So
chart.
this is what a pattern looks like.
This is what a pattern that's all graphed out would look like. And I just took this and put each stitch in there and to make it look like the original stocking that I've started knitting.
So when you're using this pattern, because I don't do this, when you're doing this pattern, where do you start?
Well, you would start because in a stocking, you start at the top, but you don't want to. So you start, and you have to work, upside down.
Right, and you're going to start with green and work
The
your way
background
into
is
it.
well. I've started the stocking here. I've just barely started it because the bottom of the stocking is a rib with red, and then it's white, and then I will start the pattern.
Right,
But
okay.
a few rows before I'm ready.
And you
We'll
just
start
work
the pattern
in another
soon.
color and all of
I
that.
have all
yeah.
the other colors. I mean, a little bit of skin color, kind of a light pink, and then the red and the green, a little bit of black,
And that's to keep you on so that
I will
your
go. You go
pattern
each
looks
row.
right.
You follow each row, and by working and following a chart. Some people don't like charting, but it's really easy once you get started
the hang
on
of
it.
Now you've also written a book.
I wrote a book several years ago, and I was not the happiest with the book because the editor kind of changed things around that I had not asked to be put in there. So it was not my favorite.
Is the book still available?
No, it's been out of print for several years. The publisher that did the book went out of business within a few years of the time they did the book.
Well, that was great.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Great timing. Okay, now Shirley is also teaching a workshop. We're really, really lucky to have her teaching these workshops because, as you already heard, she's traveled across the country and taught all kinds of folks of all different levels. You got to tell them about the man that you're
yes,
talking about.
I was. I had a man in a class. I was teaching at a retirement center several years ago, and I had a man in my class. He had to have been in his early 80s, and he knit his wife a 3-piece suit with a skirt, a short sleeve top, and a jacket.
And you started it.
I helped him get started on it, but he wanted to do all this, and he took my class. And of course, it was a half dozen women, and then this man. And but it was just so amazing to see a man that wanted to do that for his wife.
That's really neat. And so he had plenty of time. I mean, had the time to do it.
That's
I
right.
guess. So yeah.
Being retired.
Now, you said you taught all ages. So what is the youngest that you think you've ever taught?
When we lived in Virginia, I had signed up. I taught adult education and they called it the recreation department plus adult ed, and I had a class for children, and there weren't enough that signed up for the class, but they gave me the names of the children, and I happened to live just a block from the school, and I had 3 little girls who were in 5th grade that came to my house after school every day. Not every day, one day a week. I gave them a snack, and I taught them how to knit, and they made headbands. And they were
cool.
5th grade. Plus, I taught my step-granddaughter how to knit when she was in 2nd grade.
Wow.
And she's now lost interest in it. She's now going into 8th grade, and she would rather be on her iPhone and all that all the time.
Yeah.
But she did knit. She knit some things for her dolls way back.
So she'll remember how to.
I think she'll come back to her when she's in the mood.
When she's got time. She wants to focus on that. Now, there's a class coming up very soon, July the 22nd. Which is a Wednesday, and it's running for 3 consecutive Wednesdays, and it's from 10 to 12. And you're going to be able to learn from Shirley. Let's talk about what they're going to do, Shirley.
Well, it's for beginners and near beginners, and the beginners, first of all, they'll get, for their handouts, they will get a little scrap ball of yarn, then they will get a ball of yarn.
And these are some of the yarns.
And they're going to make a scarf. There's, I just have 2 scarves here, depending upon how many stitches they want. One ball will make either of these scarves, and they will get their choice of a ball of yarn, and there's several different colors here that they have a choice of.
So this multicolor ball here made this multicolor scarf.
Yes.
So it's not like you have to change threads and switch
colors.
But
some of these are solid, and some of these are slightly multicolored.
So they get to pick what they want to do, and then they'll be making that, and in the process they'll learn. They'll learn how to knit. They'll learn how to cast on first, and that's why the scrap ball of yarn that they can practice with the first session. If they know nothing about, if somebody already knows a little bit about knitting, they could get started on their scarf and go further. It just depends upon whether they're a complete beginner. It'll go for 3 weeks, and the first week they can go home and they can practice on their scrap ball. And, then and they could, I'm going to be we'll probably be working in the gift shop sometime, and they could always come in one day that they know I'm there, and I could help them. That's true. That's true. And then also another little perk of it is that these classes are offered on Wednesday mornings, and then from Wednesday from 12 to 3, there's a regular group that meets at the Blue Ridge Art Space called the Yarn Circle. And at this group, anyone who's doing anything with threads or yarns comes in, and they've got all kinds of projects they're working on. Some of them are knitting, some are crocheting, some are doing embroidery, some are doing different things. But if for example, you're in Shirley's class in that morning and you want to kind of keep going, you can stay and hang out with the group from 12 to 3. It's free and it's open to anyone. And then if you're running into an issue, one of them probably can help you get through the process.
Particularly in the beginning, they can.
Exactly.
And if someone taking this class already knows a little about knitting, they could go, get a pattern, and I could help them with a little more advanced stitches.
That's cool. And then the class you're going to teach after this in September. Let's talk about that class.
There'll be a class in September. The September has 5 Wednesdays, and I check the classes the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th Wednesday, again from 10 to 12. And that they can really do anything they want to do. I mean, like if they want
And that's
to do,
where
if they
these
want to do
might come in.
cables, they want to, you know, I still have some of the fabric that they could buy and make a top like this. They could do cables, they could do lace, any of the lace type of designs. They could do any, you know, almost anything that they want. They can go buy a pattern anywhere. I also sell yarn and some patterns at the Great Train Robbery in Banner Elk. That they could come in and they could buy things there, or they could go. My things in there are all quite discounted because I've had a lot of yarn. I used to have a yarn shop, and I'm trying to, you know, unload some of the things.
Get it out of your face. And now the workshops, the first workshop is $60, which if you're talking about 6 hours of instruction, 2 hours each of the 3 days, so basically you're looking at $10 an hour for instruction from a master knitter. That is an amazing bargain. And so
the handouts for that are $12, which include 10 pages of handouts, one ball of yarn plus the little scrap yarn that they would work on, the, you know, the first
and what
session.
you need to bring, and this is an example, but you don't have to get wood, but these are wooden. These are a size 8, US 8 needle. You can get a US 8 or a 10.
9, or 8 or 9.
8 or 9.
Which will work with this, the yarn that they're going to have.
Right.
That's why I...
And you can get these most anywhere that sells any kind of knitting supplies at all, and you can just, everybody that buys them knows that there's a size printed on it, and you can just pick the right size and bring them with you.
Bring just a pair of needles with you.
And it doesn't matter what kind they choose.
No, I mean, I prefer wood, or some of these circular needles are Addy from Skessel. They're expensive, so I didn't suggest that they get that type, but you can get, I don't like some of the old-fashioned, years ago, plastic needles, because those just don't work too well.
Okay, so you'd
But I
rather
prefer
get wood if they
you know,
have a
the wood,
choice.
or, you know, or bamboo, or, you know, or if they have, maybe they already have something they can
Right.
bring.
Yeah, and a lot of people do.
That's right, and maybe they've tried it and just haven't, you know, gotten too far with it and want to do some more, so.
So these are really cool looking. I think they're works of art in and of themselves. But at any rate, so Shirley, you're, I don't know, what makes you come to the mountains of North Carolina? Why are we so lucky to have you?
Well, I live in Wilmington, North Carolina, and we came out to this area in 1998 for our 40th wedding anniversary. And, you know, fell in love with the area. We had been to Asheville, but it was too hot in the summertime. So we came out here and we loved it, and we bought a place. And then we sold that 2 years ago and bought a place at Sugar Top, the high rise on top of Sugar Mountain, which I love. Some people don't like it because it blocks the view, some of the natives. But when you're up there in a clear day, you can see for miles and miles, and it's just a, you know, a wonderful place.
So I've got this vision of Shirley in front of a window, just knitting away and enjoying the view.
I enjoy that a lot, and you know, I still, my husband passed away 2.5 years ago, but I still come up here as long as I can keep driving. I come up here and usually go home once or twice in the summertime. And but then up here most of the time.
You know, I was thinking about that a minute ago, and I have this vision of Shirley packing her car. Think about all the yarn and the stuff that you...
Oh, I carry a lot of, I carry a lot of junk back and forth with me.
I don't think it's junk because you turn it into beautiful stuff.
Well, but I keep a lot of stuff in my car.
Now, Shirley's a regular volunteer at the Blue Ridge Art Space gift shop. She comes in and spends time, and what your job when you're there is primarily to assist people that are coming in.
Assist people who want to look at, you know, buy gifts, and plus I sit there and I knit and get, you know, I don't waste time. I don't sit still. I knit, and at home my dog tries to help me, and sometimes she gets a little bit too involved.
Has she learned the craft yet?
Well, I wish she would, but instead of unraveling some yarn or something. But she's pretty good about it.
Well, I think it's really cool, and Shirley's a really good example of how most of the artists that volunteer in the gift shop bring in what they're doing, so that you have a chance to see them working when you come by. So you want to come by our Blue Ridge Art Space gift shop not just to purchase cool things, but also to get a chance to interact with some of the artists that are
different
there.
artists will do. They're all doing different things in there.
That's exactly right. You know, it's a really neat place. The energy around the Blue Ridge Art Space is so. The artists are interacting with each other. They've made relationships.
We've made friends.
Yeah.
And,
and so it's a neat place. And one of the things now, you'll get a chance to see Shirley demonstrating her craft on Saturday the 11th at the second
a week
Saturday.
From tomorrow, right.
And so she'll be sitting in there and sharing more with you. You can sign up for the class then if you'd like. You can ask her a lot of questions if you'd like and watch what she's doing. And you could even purchase some of her wonderful, beautiful stuff. And one more thing I wanted to add. You've done commission knitting for people.
I do, and I still do commission. I mean, like these Christmas stockings. stockings. I mean, she wants this. My friend's sister wants 3 Christmas stockings that I have to get made.
And you said in Dallas you did what?
Well, Dallas, I taught knitting in Dallas.
What was it with the Admiral's wives?
That was these fabric knits. We lived in southern Maryland, in Lexington Park, Maryland, near the Patuxent River Naval Air Test Center, which was where is the test pilot. All the astronauts trained, or at least the Navy astronauts trained at the test pilot school, and I'm sure some of the other branches of the military were there too. And I used to do a lot of craft shows, and I would take these fabric knit strips and my fabric knits, and I made a lot of outfits for the admiral and captain's wives on special commission.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So you've done so many different things. You've had quite a rich experience.
I've also done needlepoint and cross stitch and embroidery.
And a little bit of crochet.
Yes, these are crocheted beads, and these were popular back in the late 1960s, early 1970s. I used to go to a Ben Franklin store up in near Alexandria, Virginia, and purchase the beads. Back then they were like 39 cents for a little pack of beads, and now they're like $1 or something. And I made a lot of these necklaces, and this one actually I've had for 40 some years.
Wow. Now we do have some of your jewelry in the gift
I
shop
have
too.
some crochet jewelry, and I brought in a necklace like this yesterday to be priced and to be put out that has the pearl with gold on it.
So if you admire this kind of jewelry, also you've got another opportunity there. So I do hope you'll be checking out all of the wonderful things we have. The Blue Ridge Art Space is located at the corner of Chatelaine and State Farm. There's a map on our website, and you can always go to that to learn a whole lot about this and a whole lot more. Our website is watauga-arts.org. Join us there and join us at Blue Ridge Art Space.
Watauga Arts Council with your host, Sherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.